Have you ever wondered why the political climate feels like a never-ending storm? In the grand theater of American politics, the stage is divided, and the spotlight is shared by two main figures. A political conundrum that seems to grow more complex with each passing day. This divide is not a new phenomenon, of course, it's as old as the nation itself. But in recent years, it feels like the chasm has widened. The middle ground eroded, leaving us on opposite cliffs shouting across a vast void. Today we stand at a precipice facing a political landscape that's more polarized than ever before. The nation is split, not just along party lines, but along ideological ones. The words liberal and conservative have taken on a weight they didn't possess before, becoming almost badges of identity. At the heart of this divide stand two figures, each with a loyal following, each with a vision for the future of this great nation. On one side we have Joe Biden, a seasoned politician with a wealth of experience in the corridors of power. On the other, Donald Trump, a businessman turned politician, who shocked the world with his victory in the 2016 election. These two men represent more than just themselves. They are the figureheads of their respective parties, the embodiment of their ideologies, and the champions of their supporters' hopes and dreams. Their words and actions have far-reaching effects, sending ripples through the political landscape and shaping the nation's future. Between these two, the nation is caught in a tug of war, a struggle between two visions, two philosophies, two paths forward. Each side is convinced of their righteousness. Each believes their way is the best way forward. In the midst of these storms, two figures stand tall, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. But what makes them different? As we delve deeper into their policies and impacts, perhaps we'll find the answer to this question, and maybe, just maybe, we'll find a way to bridge the divide. Scene script: Joe Biden and Donald Trump, two figures with vastly different policies and beliefs. Let's start with Joe Biden. A big part of his platform is addressing climate change. He's committed to rejoining the Paris Agreement and has a plan to achieve a clean energy economy with net zero emissions by 2050. His approach to healthcare is also comprehensive. He aims to protect and build on the Affordable Care Act by giving Americans more choice, reducing healthcare costs, and making the system less complex. When it comes to the economy, Biden believes in investing in the middle class. His plan involves creating millions of good-paying jobs and providing opportunities for small businesses. Now let's pivot to Donald Trump. His approach to climate change has been controversial. He withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Agreement, arguing that it was detrimental to the American economy. On healthcare, Trump has consistently aimed to dismantle the Affordable Care Act without providing a clear replacement. His economic policy has been centered around tax cuts, especially for corporations and wealthy individuals. He believes these cuts stimulate economic growth and job creation. But what do these policies mean in terms of impact? Let's look at some numbers. Under Biden's climate plan, we're looking at the potential for millions of new jobs in clean energy and a significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. His healthcare policy could mean more Americans have access to affordable healthcare, and his economic plan could result in a stronger middle class. On the other hand, under Trump's climate policy, the U.S. has seen an increase in carbon emissions and a decline in clean energy jobs. His healthcare stance could lead to millions of Americans losing their coverage. And while his tax cuts have indeed led to some economic growth, they have also been associated with increasing income inequality. Clearly their policies have led to different outcomes, but how have these outcomes affected the average American? Scene script: beyond the headlines and the rhetoric, how have Biden and Trump's policies impacted you, the average American? To start, let's talk jobs. Under Biden's leadership, we've seen a steady growth in employment. Since his inauguration, nearly 5 million jobs have been added to the economy. This isn't just a number on a page, it's millions of families who can put food on the table and sleep a little easier at night. Now let's contrast this with Trump's administration. Yes, there was job growth, but it was uneven and largely benefited the wealthy. The gap between the rich and the poor widened. While the stock market boomed, nearly 4 out of every 10 American workers struggled to meet basic needs. That's not just a statistic, it's a sign of a system that needs change. Next up, healthcare. Biden has made strides in expanding affordable healthcare. The American Rescue Plan, for instance, has decreased health insurance premiums for millions of Americans. This means more people can visit a doctor when they need to, without fear of crippling debt. Under Trump, however, we saw attempts to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, which would have left millions without coverage. This isn't just about policy, it's about lives at stake. And finally, the environment. Biden has rejoined the Paris Agreement and invested heavily in renewable energy, helping us breathe a little easier and paving the way for a greener future. In contrast, Trump withdrew from the Paris Agreement and rolled back numerous environmental regulations. This isn't just about politics, it's about the world we leave for our children. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple: policies matter. They have real, tangible effects on our lives. They determine if we can find a job, afford a doctor's visit, and even what kind of world we'll leave for the next generation. The effects of their policies are clear, but what does this mean for the future? With these impacts in mind, what could the future hold under Biden or Trump? Let's start by looking at potential scenarios under a Biden administration. Based on his past policies and actions, we can expect a future where climate change is taken seriously. Biden has committed to rejoin the Paris Agreement, a global effort to combat climate change, and has proposed a $2 trillion plan to address this pressing issue. This could lead to a greener, more sustainable future for us and generations to come. In terms of healthcare, Biden's approach is to expand upon the Affordable Care Act, seeking to provide coverage for more Americans. This could mean a future where every American, regardless of their financial situation, has access to quality healthcare. Now let's consider a future under Trump. Past policies suggest a different approach to climate change. Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Agreement, and his administration rolled back numerous environmental regulations. This could lead to a future where the U.S. lags behind on global climate initiatives, potentially exacerbating the climate crisis. On healthcare, Trump has repeatedly promised to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, but has not provided a clear plan. This uncertainty could lead to a future where millions of Americans might lose their healthcare coverage, with no clear alternative in sight. These scenarios are not just speculation, they are based on data and the expert opinions of those who closely follow these issues. We've seen the impacts of these policies and actions, and they give us a glimpse into what the future might look like under each leader. But remember, these are potential futures. The actual future is not set in stone. It is shaped by decisions made today by people like you, by every single vote. The future is uncertain, but one thing remains clear: your vote matters. In this storm of politics, your vote serves as a beacon of hope. Every 4 years we find ourselves in the midst of a political whirlwind. We're bombarded with campaign promises, political ads, and debates. Amidst all this noise, it's crucial to remember that the power of change lies in our hands, in our votes. Voting is not just a right, it's a responsibility. It's a way to express our views, our hopes, and our dreams for the future of this great nation. When we vote, we're not just selecting a name on a ballot, we're choosing the direction we want our country to take. Let's take a trip down memory lane. The year was 1960. The presidential race was neck and neck. John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon were vying for the presidency. The difference in the popular vote was less than 1%. Yes, you heard that right. Less than 1%. That's around 112,000 votes. Your vote, your voice, has the power to tip the scales. Fast forward to the year 2000. The presidential race was again a nail-biter. George W. Bush and Al Gore were in a deadlock. The state of Florida was the deciding factor. After a series of recounts, Bush won Florida by a margin of just 537 votes. That's fewer people than you'd find in a small town. Your vote could be the deciding factor. The future of our nation is shaped by these moments, by these votes. Every vote cast is a voice heard. It's a statement of belief, of hope, of aspiration. It's a testament to the power of democracy, the power of the people. So I urge you, when the next election comes around, don't just sit on the sidelines. Engage, participate, vote. Because your vote can and does make a difference. So, as we navigate through this political storm, remember this: your vote is your voice. Use it wisely.